Good afternoon. Welcome back to my No Name channel. I'm Bruce Pullman, and this is another Bali COVID-19 update for October 6th, 2020. And lots of stuff has been going on, and I'm only going to get to a little bit of it today. So what are we going to look at? The numbers as usual. The governor's wife. Dead men tell no tales. The update on the mask situation. There's been identification going on for foreigners in Bali, and Russian tourists deported for trespassing, among other things. And the economy, what's happening with the economy. And then I'm going to end with when is Bali going to open. Some new things that I've found out, and some old things. So let's get started. The numbers. What are the numbers? Okay, yesterday, 83 new cases. It takes us up to 9,448 positives, 7,943 recovered, 295 deaths, and 1,210 active cases. It's really windy outside today. That was my popcorn blowing down. And all of these were Indonesians, no foreigners, and all were local transmissions. And where the most cases, Denpasar 27, Badung with 15, Gianyar with 11, Bangli with 9, Klungkung with 7, and here's my map. Buleng with 7, Tabanan with 4, Karangasem with 2, and at the end, Jembrana with just one new case. Okay, so a little down from the past week where cases have been up at 100, but as you know, if you've been watching my videos here before, testing is not fully ramped up here, and over the weekend testing tends to go down, and so these were the numbers for yesterday, Monday. And what about the governor's wife? Remember the governor's wife, I mentioned this in the last one, that tested positive along with 20 other people in the governor's residence. She was quarantined, and she has tested negative now, and good for her, and she is going back to Denpasar. So there's some good news for the governor and his family, and all of us are recoveries. And so those are the numbers. Numbers are still up there. Remember this when we get back to the end of this. Okay, next. Talking about testing. So the head of the regency of Gianyar released a memorandum that revoked the requirement to do PCR swab tests on corpses of deceased individuals who were suspected of having coronavirus. The memo said that when a patient dies before a PCR swab test is undertaken, there's no longer a necessity to carry out the testing on the corpse. The memo also states that patients who die of an acute respiratory infection should be buried immediately or returned immediately to the family for them to take care of the corpse according to health protocols. So, what are the results of this? No longer possible to get accurate results on deaths from Gianyar Regency, nor is it possible to do follow-ups, to do contact testing, because, well, you don't know who's died and who hasn't died from the coronavirus. And so this is going to make accurate reporting a little more difficult in Bali, particularly in Gianyar. Whether other regencies are going to follow Gianyar's lead is unknown at the present time, but overall, anytime you cut down on testing, we get a less accurate information on what's actually happening here. So, not a good thing. And what about masks? Now, you remember, I've been talking about masks since I first started doing this, telling people you need to wear a mask. And they were required, and then it was put into law. And fines were instituted, and I talked about this 1 or 2 videos ago, 100,000 rupees fine, but not everybody was being fined well. According to recent information that's just out this last week, the fine is only being given to 13.4% of the people that have been violating the mask wearing rule, or total of 499 people out of 3,722 violations that took place over a 3-week period from December 7th to December 30th, September 7th through September 30th, sorry. And each week the number goes down. The Provincial Enforcement Authority Chief for Bali, Pak Dewan Nyoman Darmadi, said that the positive counseling is being instituted instead of forcing people to pay fines. And he noted that while there's still a higher number than acceptable of people who are not abiding by the rules, this number is decreasing. He further said those violating the rules, predominantly from the middle to lower classes, and he said that they complained they didn't have the money to either buy a mask or to pay the fine. And in that case, alternative punishments were given out, such as cleaning the surrounding area. Once the punishment was completed, they were given a free mask and sent on their way. Additionally, he said that upper class members told authorities that they've forgotten their mask, or they're caught and they're wearing it down by the chin. I was going to put my mask on and put it down by the chin, but you get what I mean. Some people do that here. And even though these people are able to afford the 100,000 rupiah fine, and you think that if 100,000 rupiahs, so if you work 30 days a month, that's the salary of 3 million. Well, the minimal salary in Bali varies according to regency, but let's say it's somewhere around 2.5 million. So you're talking about a day's pay for people that are working at minimum wage. So that's a hefty fine. Not as big as in some places like Singapore or Australia. And so the upper middle class people, even though they can afford to pay the fine, they are usually just scolded and counseled on the necessity of following the rules. Pakmade Rentin, the security for the provincial task force for the mitigation of COVID-19, said the number of violators is decreasing regularly. He also noted that the enforcement teams are acting firmly in applying the regulations and enforcing discipline while avoiding being coarse in the application of the law. And if you saw my last video, I'll link up here, my last video on COVID-19, you know that the enforcement of the law seems to vary according to regency. Bullying, I know just because this is where I live, it's been taken seriously here. My one trip down through Bangli and into Gianyar, down to Ubud, did not seem to be being enforced as much as in bullying. So there's a little lack of consistency there. Pakmade said the important thing to remember about this is not that money is not the prime goal here, but it's instilling a sense of crisis in the public. Okay, so are people wearing masks? Okay, I was out the last couple of days, and in bullying, as I've said before, 99% of the population wears it inside the kampong. Yeah, less, maybe 40%, maybe 50%. So if those people are outside and they do get it, they're going to spread it here. Now, we have not had any cases in the compound as far as I'm aware. So, I don't know, but when people leave, when they go out, and then when they're on their motorcycle, you see everybody wearing a mask because the enforcement is being taken outside, not inside this compound. And I don't know if it's being done inside any compounds or in any dazed. So that's that's a worry if we're going to put an end to this. Are we going to enforce it or not? And so, if you're not wearing a mask, the possibilities that you're going to be fined are pretty low, like 87%. Most likely not that something else will happen. So let's go on to the next one. And this is more of keeping track of what's going on here. Identification of foreigners, immigration officers, police officers, and other officials carried out a joint surveillance operation on foreigners in Bali last week, and the results were none. They found no violations by the foreigners that they checked. This took place in South Kuta. They were examining residence permits, whether people were following health protocols, and checking on their passports. Officers gave masks to foreigners who were being interviewed but were not wearing masks at the time. And so, good news. Good news for all of us foreigners here, foreigners that were checked. Seem to be abiding by the rules, and we want to abide by the rules. We want to be good guests. Remember, even people like me that have been here for 31 years, we're still guests. And so let's follow the rules. And foreigners, Russian tourists. A Russian tourist who had been deported after he was found wandering around in a daze in a local person's house. Here's a photo. It turns out that he had overstayed his visa by 1.5 years, and you can see from the photo, he looked pretty grubby. According to the Denpasar Public Civil Service, he was picked up at a local's house in a daze, but otherwise he appeared to be healthy. He was being examined. He had been examined for the COVID-19, and he was negative. And he had also been examined for mental health issues, but, well, the article didn't say whether he had any or not, but according to latest reports, he had been deported after the police and immigration contacted Russian authorities. And so, yeah, we have people that are overstay, they get here, I don't know, they get stuck, they have mental health issues, and we do have some people, and you know, I've reported about this before, kind of wandering around here, and you find those, and there was a guy, when I used to be in Bangkok a lot, there was a guy who was there for a long time, and he just kind of, he was a street person, collecting money, and people would give him money sometimes. So we get those here. Okay, unfortunate for him, but hopefully things will go better for him when he's back in Russia. And the economy. Okay, so I've mentioned before the economy is not in good shape. We're down about 11% over the year. According to article here, links down below, Bali export performance is down 0.55% in August. On a year-to-year basis, exports have been down 27.19%. And this is dominated by exports to American and the European areas. And imports to Bali, now this is interesting. Imports to Bali down 85.47%. Okay, now why are imports down? What gets imported here that people use? stuff that gets imported here tends to go to foreigners, so it makes sense that imports are down 85.47%. Most locals do not use imported goods. We don't use imported goods. So that's the economy. The economy is still tanked. There are some good things happening. There are more people here. Locals are, like I said, locals are going out and going to some places, but not others. And with that being said, let's go over to when will Bali open. Okay, I'm running through this quickly today to make this short. So when will Bali open? For tourists, still no word. Looks like it's going to be at the end of the year, start of next year. However, limited stay visas are being issued for cases of family reunification. This has been going on for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks now. I haven't mentioned it before, so if there's reunification issues, a husband or a wife is out overseas, they wanted to get back, they weren't before, visas are being issued for those people now, so that's great. And apparently some people are coming into Bali now on business visas. Business visas are being issued. Why? I'm not sure. There's been a lot of talk on social media about this, and there are a couple of travel agencies, visa experts, who have been facilitating this, and so some people that really want to get into Bali, either because they have a business or they just want to get here and they're going to use the business visa mode, have been coming, and prices for those visas were initially really high. They seem to be lowering somewhat. I'm certainly not an expert on the visa issue, and I'm really not terribly interested in it at this point. But there's a good Facebook page called the Indonesian Facebook page, Laws and Regulations in Indonesia, and I'm going to put a link below if you are interested in visas and how the visas are working. I suggest that you take a look there. You can join or you can view without being a member. You just can't post if you're not a member. And find out what's happening. So there's been talk about the travel bubble, green zones, green lines. I forget what it is. I haven't had time to really research all that. With Singapore and South Korea, I think Japan, China, I think that's predominantly for business people at this point, but more on that in the next Bali COVID-19 update. Okay, so what's that say? It says we're still closed to general tourists, but there are some people being able to enter Bali, so I'm not going to suggest that you want to do that. You do that, but if you really want to get here, I guess you can get here. Check the link below, like I said before. Schools are still closed, by the way. Still online schooling, and my granddaughter will be coming back. Fortunately, she's just finishing up her test, and so then she's going to start a new semester. She'll be doing it at home with us. She's been away too long. And weather, what is the weather like? So we actually had cloudy skies for the last 3 days, and my son was coming back from Denpasar, meeting in Denpasar yesterday, the day before, yesterday I think. Days just kind of blend together here sometimes. He got stuck in big rain up in the mountains, up in Bedugul, and so we seem to be getting close to the rainy season. Rainy season's usually in November. We're only at the start of October, so who knows? It has been really, really windy. If you saw my drone review of the Mavic Mini, You know, I was talking about the wind there, and I'm looking out the window right now, and it is too windy to get the drone up. I could get it up, but you know, it blows around, and what's the point of that? I don't want to lose the thing. And so that's it for today. Have any comments, suggestions, as long as they make sense and polite, right? Remember, this is my channel. I don't take crazy theories. There's enough around the world. You don't need to put them on my channel. So take care, follow the rules, stay safe, be kind to someone today, and thanks for visiting, and see you next time.